Hi everyone, I decided today to do a video about Rick. Rick is my biggest giant African land snail, and here he is. I've got him on a massive cabbage leaf and he's currently munching on some snail mix. And as you can see, he's massive. He's getting quite big now. He fills his foot is the full length of my hand. Approximately. So like, if I move him there, so that gives you an idea of how big he is, and then compared to the size of my hand, that's his shell. So he's getting nice and big. He's doing very well. I wanted to do an update on him because I know at one point he wasn't doing brilliantly, and because he's always been a little bit of like a runt, and he wasn't doing brilliant. I thought he got deep retraction syndrome, but it just turns out I've had to give him extra food compared to the other snails, and he's now perked up lovely. None of my snails are malnourished. They've always got loads of food in, but for some reason he went really funny at one point and seemed to lose energy and wasn't going out looking for food as much, but I gave him extra food on top of what he'd normally have, and here he is. I don't know whether he has trouble eating because he's getting on a bit, like if his regular's a bit worn down, I don't know. He's eating his snail mix fine. Yep, so this is him. So I thought I'd get a sort of more close-up shot of him for you so you can have a good look. And basically the way I'm convincing him to go full stretch and to fully come out is by bribing him with snail mix. Just a tiny little bit, just about half a teaspoon's worth, mixed with some warm water. Just make sure it's not hot when you give it them. Just make sure it's like, you know, room temperature sort of thing. And yeah, so as you can see, while he's out and about, I'm taking some pickies. There will be pictures of him on Instagram. He hasn't got like a separate account or anything. It's just on my Instagram, which is Fum's Musings on Instagram. And yeah, he's doing very well. He's on a cabbage leaf. He's had some of this cabbage leaf to eat, but I found after about a day or so he got bored of it. I think he's probably just full because obviously it's going to be more filling than just bog standard lettuce. But as soon as I gave him a little bit of snail mix, he started scoffing. I always give him just that little tiny bit extra because of him. Obviously, he's struggling at one point, but he is now a nice weight. I haven't got scale, so I can't tell you the exact number, but I know when I hold him in my hand, I feel the weight of him now, whereas at one point he was feeling quite light and I was getting really worried. And this is me with my ruler to try and show you. He's about when his full foot's out, he's about 15 centimetres long, and then his shell's about, is it 10, something like that, centimetres long. Obviously you can convert that into feet and inches and stuff, or pause the video when my ruler's out and you can see it. So yeah, I'm really pleased with him. He is nearly 3 years old, and he's started to get a lot more shell growth now, and it's really perked up. I don't think it was like a deficiency or anything that was bothering him, because I've always given them like a wide range of foods, and I've always made sure they've had protein and calcium and everything like that. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on with him. But like I said, I know he's a bit of a runt because his siblings only lasted for a maximum of 2 years. His siblings died really young, and all my other African land snails I've ever had have always done a minimum of 5 years. The oldest African land snail I ever had was 10 years old, and the second oldest was 7. So it's not how I was looking after them. I think it's just a duff batch that I had. My current ones, Alvin, Simon and Theodore, and little Morty, well, new Morty as we call him, they're fine. They're only about a year old, and they're actually like half the size of Rick already, if not, well, some of them are. Like Alvin is not far off Rick's size. He's about a couple of centimetres or so off shell size. Simon and Theodore have got a bit more catching up to do. They're about half of Rick's size. And then Morty is probably about, what, half of Rick's size, if not more, because he's getting fairly big fairly quick. So the ones I've got now are going to catch up with Rick's size really quickly. So I do think Rick is like a bit of a sort of slower growing, more stunted snail. But it's not due to care, it's just how he is. Unfortunately, with the Achatina fullicus, there is a lot of inbreeding in the pet trade. And I did get Rick from a pet shop because he was there with his sibling, and they were the last two. And the other pet shop couldn't sell them, so they were passed on to another pet shop in the same chain, and then I bought them. Because no one wanted them and I wanted to make sure they were cared for properly, so I bought them. They didn't cost me a lot either because the pet shop wanted to get rid of them. But to be fair to the pet shop that I had them from, they were looking after them properly in there. They were all at the proper temperature, they were in a proper terrarium, they'd got cuttlefish bone and shelter, they'd got soft bedding, the substrate that I use, the cocoa fibre. They had plenty of food and a little water dish and everything, and they'd got hydrobutter and everything. So, they were properly looked after in the pet shop that I got them from. But obviously, I don't know where they came from originally. I don't know whether it was like a breeder or someone at home had accidentally got babies or got rid of them or what. But anyway, I'm not 100% sure of all of Rick's history. But he is a smaller version, and in the pet trade, because the Achatina fullicus, a lot of them have been more inbred. They do actually tend to come out smaller now. So Rick is not far off standard size for a Achatina fullica as it is anyway. Most of mine previously have been bigger. Rick is the smallest adult I've ever had, but the others weren't much bigger, to be fair. So he's doing very well now. So I'm not too concerned now. But yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to get a bit more of an in-depth talk about him, because I know I did like a Rick update just saying how he was doing and what he's eating and stuff. But I thought it'd be nice to do a bit more of an in-depth update, and so you can see roughly what a 3-year-old giant African land snail is going to look like. And all I would say is, if you do take on an African land snail or two, just make sure that you have space for them, because they're not going to stay in their small little terrarium for long. Like the first size one I got for the babies, they were only in that for about 10 months, something like that, 9 months. And then they outgrew it, they needed more space, so I upgraded them to the second size one. I have now upgraded to a bigger tank still, because during the summer obviously they do grow rapidly, a bit more rapidly with the warm weather. And obviously I wanted to put my snails together. So Ricky's actually with Alvin, Simon and Theodore now. I couldn't keep them together originally because the babies were too small, and there was a risk of Rick squishing them accidentally if he crawled on top of them. Because snails aren't very good with personal space, let's put it that way. So you will find that basically if a snail wants to go in a certain direction, if there's another snail in the way, they'll crawl over the top of each other. So obviously I didn't want him squishing the babies, and also there's the risk that he might gnaw on the shells of the babies and stuff. So I needed to wait for them to be bigger, and yeah, he gets on with them perfectly fine, doesn't bother them. I have seen them breeding, or attempting to breed, but I haven't got any eggs or anything yet. But I'm not too worried. I'm not breeding them or anything. All I'll do is freeze the eggs and get rid of them. But obviously, if they're breeding, it means they're happy and they're enjoying. They like their environment they're in, because they won't try and breed in an environment that they are absolutely miserable in. So yeah, this is Rick. If you're wondering why his eye stalks are down, it's because he's really interested in what he's eating. When you see this on snails, and their eyes look like they're droopy like this, don't worry. It's just they're looking down because they're really interested in something. I tend to find Rick does this when there's some really nice food, like the snail mix. His eyes are just fixed on the floor and he's watching what he's eating. So yeah, you'll find what they do this with cuttlefish bone as well. They'll just be there staring at it while they're munching away. So it means they're really enjoying it and they're quite focused on what they're eating. So yeah, I just thought I would show you how he's getting on and have a little chat. Show you some more up close pictures. I'm trying to get some slightly more in-depth pictures and like closer up, so you can see in more detail how he's doing. And as you can see, if you look at the edge of his shell there, you got a bit that looks a little bit rough, but then after that rough bit, it's growing really nice and smooth again. So I am quite pleased with his progress. So yeah, that's Rick the snail, and he's doing great. And there's no signs of any parasites or anything, or infections or anything, so I'm really pleased. And like I said, he was breeding the other week, so he's feeling fine himself as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to find out more about snails, I'll see you next week. But you can also check out my Achatina fullica playlist that has all my African land snail videos, and they're all about the breed of giant African land snails, Achatina fullica, because that's the ones I've got. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.